Hi, my name is Dr. Myava Clark, and I support parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children by providing emotional support and practical tools without burnout while they guide their children toward meaningful friendships. Do you know what neurodivergent means? Neurodivergent refers to the way an individual's brain processes information, learn, or behave that is considered different than what is considered normal or neurotypical. Well, I'm going to tell you about my journey and how I got here. You see me, potentially see me week after week, sharing my story, sharing my thoughts, and my tips for the neurodivergent community. Well, in case you haven't been here from the beginning, or if you didn't catch my full story, I'm going to share with you my journey and why I'm here. When I first got married, my husband and I thought that we weren't going to have children for a couple years. We thought we were going to just enjoy marriage for a while. And then within our first year of marriage, we had a change of plans and we changed our mind and we decided we wanted to try to start a family. Well, we were excited to find out that we were with child, but that excitement didn't last very long because we lost our first baby. I suffered a miscarriage, and at the time, I worked at a children's hospital, and I saw the sickest 1% of the kids in the country. So I wasn't sure at that time if I wanted to try again. I wasn't sure if it was meant for me to have kids. A lot of thoughts just went across my mind. And our doctor assured us that she thought it was basically a fluke and that everything was fine and that we should try again. So we did. And fortunately, we became pregnant with our son and we were excited. We were excited. The baby came to term. We had him. Everything was great. And Chris has two first cousins, one which was 6 weeks older than him, and the other was 3 months older than him. So as he began to grow and as things went along, we noticed that he wasn't doing everything the way that they were doing them in the same time frame. So we thought he was a little slower developing than they were. But everybody kept telling us, don't worry about it. Everybody moves at their own pace. As time went on, and we kept noticing little things, like, for example, they were able to put a straw in the juice box, but he wasn't coordinated enough to hold the juice box and put a straw in. Um, he wasn't able to throw a ball as far as they were, and little things, right? So finally, we said, can everything be a coincidence? Is everything at his own pace? So we had him tested. We went to the unit to just have him evaluated, and we found out that he did, in fact, have some developmental delays, which required some speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. And he was deemed to have been of normal intellect, but he was developing a little more slowly, physically, and with his speech than some of his peers. So we went for therapy, and when I was a respiratory therapist at the time and working at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and I went back to school, and I went back to school for to be an elementary school teacher, and that was before Chris was even born. I went before I found out I was even pregnant. And then while I was in school, I found out I was pregnant. And the funniest thing is sometimes I say God, I say God has jokes. he's just full of jokes, right? I thought I was going to be this elementary school teacher to have my summers off with my children when I decided to have them. And, you know, as it turns out, when I realized that the reason why I wanted to be teach elementary school is in fact because I felt intimidated by adults. I was afraid to teach adults because I didn't want to be challenged. I was like, what if they find out I don't know something? Um, I'm gonna be looked at like a fraud or something. And let me tell you about me, and then I'll get back into the story. I'm the type of person that I refuse to be held back or held down by anybody, especially by myself. I refuse to be captive in my own mind. So when I realized that the reason why I said I wanted to teach kids was really because I was intimidated by adults, I ran toward that. I always run towards my fears instead of from my fears. And I began teaching adults at the Community College of Philadelphia. So I say that to you because when I went to school for elementary school, I never ever even taught one day in an elementary class. But God allowed me to use the skills that I gained and the tools that I gained from school to help my son and to help him close the education gap between he and his typically developing peers. So my education wasn't wasted. It was just spent on my child. And then when my daughter came along, it was spent on my daughter. For example, when Chris was little, he and Kyra both were reading before they went to kindergarten. I used not only my skills, but I also had purchased at the time Hooked on Phonics, and my children were reading before they went to kindergarten. I believe that skill set is what really helped my son. In particular, this story is about him, so I'm talking about him. I really believe it helped him, and as he struggled in school, that was a strength. So it kind of balanced some things out where he couldn't completely be dismissed because they could see that he's capable of learning because he learned, right? The other thing that happened, now Chris Sr. and I were never under any illusion Chris had strokes. We we knew he needed help and we got him help. We just were the parents that advocated for him because um it wasn't a one size fits all for Chris. Chris clearly needed help and support with some things, but other things he didn't. So we didn't want him to have more help than he needed, but we didn't want him to struggle unnecessarily either. So we had to advocate. We had to be a support for him and fight for what we thought was right. Um, we didn't want them to enable him in the classroom to the point where everything was just easy and he wasn't challenged. For example, when Chris was going into the first grade over that summer, I had Chris adding. He was able to add um, 1 plus 1 and 1 plus 2 and so on. But when he got eight, the teacher she said that she was just going to have Chris sort. She said that he didn't need to add. And I said, but he's adding at home. She said, well, we just want him to sort here. I said, no, but he's adding at home. I want him to add. And we went round and around for a little, and then I told her, look, I want you to raise the bar. I want you to raise it here and let Chris jump. If Chris can't hit the bar each time, that's okay. But what we're not going to do is lower the bar for him to have success every time, and it's not realistic. What we're not going to do is pretend that he's higher or better than he is. I want him to be challenged. No, I didn't want it to be so hard that he came home frustrated, but no, he is going to work, and he's going to work at it. So finally, she saw it that way, and we did challenge him and everything. And I'm grateful that we did. I'm grateful that we stood our ground, and we had to do this throughout. Again, we never wanted Chris to be so frustrated that he was depressed or couldn't thrive, but yet and still we didn't want it to be a cakewalk where he just had these unrealistic expectations of being better at things than he was. So anyway, I say that to you because being an advocate for your child isn't always easy. Being an advocate for your child isn't always fun, but it is necessary and it is worth it. When you stand up and you talk, I encourage everyone to come from a position of strength that you know your child, you know what your child is capable of, you believe in your child, and you want to get that point across, but you don't want to come in um, angry. You don't want to come in, as I say, head bobbing, neck rolling, finger pointing, hand on your hip, telling them off, because that's a for sure way to be dismissed. That's a for sure way to not be heard out. That's a for sure way to not get your child's needs met in the manner that you want them to. Another thing that Chris Sr. and I faced when we went into meetings, we found that there were times where they tried to divide and conquer. They tried to look for soft eyes. Usually they were looking at me, they weren't looking at him for soft eyes. But what they didn't get is they didn't get what they were looking for. Whether I agreed with them or I agreed with Chris, they didn't know because I always stood with him and we were a united front in those meetings. And we would leave and say we would go home and discuss it, and then we get back to you. And so some of the times I didn't agree with Chris. Some of the times he didn't agree with me with the perspective, and other times I heard what the professionals had to say, and I agreed with their approach, but I didn't agree with them during a meeting. So Chris and we would go home and we would discuss it. And I would plead my case, he would plead his case. Sometimes he conceded and agreed with me, and other times I conceded and agreed with him. Usually, what the deciding factor was how passionate the other person was, or how strong and compelling their their reasons were for feeling that way. And most of the times, that's how came to a concession as to what we were going to do. And then we would go back and we tell, and if we found that that didn't work, then we would try something else later. There definitely wasn't a manual. It definitely wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't always fun. So that being said, sometimes you do the things that you're told to do. Sometimes you follow all of the recommendations, you follow all of the suggestions that were given, and it still wasn't enough. What do you do? What do you do when you don't feel like you're being heard? Or what do you do when you feel like it's you, maybe you and your spouse and your child against the world, because you're doing all the things. You're doing taking all of the suggestions. You're going to all of the meetings. You're going to all the programs. You're going to all the doctor appointments and you still have questions that are unanswered. You still feel like you're not doing enough. You feel like you don't know where else to turn. What do you do? What do you do when you have a loving family? You have supportive friends, you have supportive family, and you still feel alone on this journey. What do you do? That was me. I can't, I couldn't have asked for a more loving, supportive network. I couldn't have asked for more loving, supportive parents, friends, and all the things, a spouse to navigate the space with. And I still felt alone at times. I felt like I wasn't understood. I felt like nobody really got me. So what do you do with that information, right? I'll tell you what I did with it in a minute. But during that time, I also feel like I lost myself to a degree. I lost my identity because at the same time that I was navigating this space with my son as he was growing, my daughter developed medical challenges in her teenage years. So I'm navigating the IEP meetings and space with my son. And then my daughter had been diagnosed with chronic illness. So now I'm navigating medical appointments with her. My husband and we were in it together. The difference is I work part-time and I'm blessed to say that I was in a position that I only work 2 days during the week and every other weekend, and he worked full time. So the vast majority of the appointments I had to go to, and most of them I went to by myself. What we call the heavy, he went to me information firsthand. But all of that to say that I was working two jobs, um, even though it was part time, I was still working two jobs. And because as they got older, yes, I was still in the hospital 2 days a week, but I began teaching as well. The nice thing about teaching is I was there during the time they were in school. So by the time I left the college, I was able to pick them up or whatever and have my afternoons with my children. So navigating this space and doing what I was doing, I put myself on a back burner. I didn't necessarily do things for me because by the time it got around to me, I was exhausted and I just didn't. But I um, began to learn the value and the importance of self-care. How did that come about? How did I learn that I needed to do that? I was seeing a therapist, and I'm grateful for that time and that space because that having that outlet and finding someone to talk to prevented me from crashing and burning, started me on my journey of being introspective and figuring things out differently for myself. And then also, years before, my husband saying to me that if I'm no good for me, I can't be any good for anyone else. So coupling that with now being in therapy, and my therapist asked me, well, she said, Myava, what do you like? And I couldn't think of one thing that I like. And that was hurtful to me because that meant I lost touch with myself. And I cried. Tears just rolled down my eyes because I couldn't think of one thing in that moment that I liked that would bring me joy or anything. So she gave me an assignment, and the assignment was go home and write down 50 things you like. And I thought that was the most ridiculous assignment because if I couldn't think of one thing, how was I going to come up with 50? But what it challenged me to do was go home and think. And what I wound up coming up with was I like, I remembered some of the things I liked when I was a child. Like I liked hot chocolate. When I was younger, hot chocolate made me feel warm and fuzzy inside, and it would bring me joy. I remembered that I like seafood. I remembered that I like candles. I remembered that I like flowers and sweet smelling things. I like going to the movies. Like the list goes on and on. And I was able to come up with 50 things, and some of the things didn't cost a lot of money. Some of the things cost money, but not a lot of money. Other things like get my hair done, get my nails done, those cost more. I like massages, that costs more. But taking a walk didn't cost money, it just cost time. It helped me to get clarity of thought. Taking a longer than usual shower. Like these were things that were relaxing to me that I learned. And so um when I figured it out, it helped me for where I am now. And I got to the point where when I reflect back and seeing what I did for me and how I dug myself out of that space of feeling alone or coming close to burnout, I realized that I don't want other people to feel that way. I don't want other parents, mothers, or caregivers to feel alone on that journey. I don't want them to feel like they're unsupported or where do I go? I'm doing all of the things. And maybe they don't know some of the things that I had to figure out and learn with my husband, some of the things that we learned on our journey. And maybe we can help them heal and get there faster. Maybe we can help them support their children in a manner that they can advocate in a way that they'll be heard. Because, yes, God blessed us that where those meetings were challenging in the beginning, but we learned how to advocate in such a way that we felt that the superintendent of special ed in our township became our number one fan. She became our ally. She supported us in what we were doing. She supported and championed us for the way that we advocated for our son. And I'm here to try to help other people walk through that and to go from feeling like it's a fight to feeling like we're being championed and we're walking this journey together. And having that with her absolutely helped us with the teachers. It absolutely helped us with the therapist there as we were working on this and walking. And we wound up feeling like we became part of the team. And one of the things that I found out some years after Chris graduated high school, I ran into one of the his classmates' father, and I was like, "Yeah, Chris is in college. You know, Chris is taking classes at the community college." And he said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I know, I know." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, Chris is like the poster boy over there within the special ed department, and they use him as a model to encourage kids to go through school and to take the classes." Yeah, they offered us a different path. We didn't accept that. We knew that Chris was capable. We knew his intellect. We knew his abilities, and we championed and we supported him. Remember, I said that weren't under any illusion. We knew he needed help. We knew that he needed support. And we wanted to give him everything he needed, but we didn't want to give him more than he needed. So we had to figure it out. Some classes he really struggled in math. So he went to different classes, maybe special ed for math. But some classes he just needed a little bit support and he went to the resource room. Other classes he took regular ed. He was with everybody else. So it wasn't a one size fits all, but we figured it out what we thought was the best for him, and that's what we did. And doing that allow him to be able to graduate and take college classes. Some of them he struggled a little bit, but he got through them. Now Chris wound up taking a break during 2020, and he got a job in retail, and then we started building our business, CASIN, Collaborative Advancement for Social and Emotional Needs. Chris and I do outreach. We pour into the community. We go speak to kids about being safe online. We actually built a social media app that we're about to launch publicly now to bring more awareness to teaching bullying identification, focusing on the neurodivergent population. We feel like they are the ones that are prime targets for being victims on social media, for being bullied, for developing mental health issues, because maybe they think differently and maybe socially, emotionally they're behind. So our aim is to educate and empower and strengthen these children and at the same time give the parents the tools that they need to continue the conversation. So Chris and I have been working. So because he's been focused on that and he's been working in retail, he hasn't yet gone back to school to finish his degree, but we're talking about it. We support him with that. We want him to finish that. Yes, that's important, but it's also important to keep building his own self-confidence and his own abilities in this space as we're going out and speaking and working on these different platforms to help other parents and children who find themselves in that space and even young adults like he is. Chris is going to be 27 years old and he's still figuring it out and we're figuring it out together. Still working with him and um he's healing while building casing, he's still healing himself with his confidence and knowing who he want to be and what he wants to do in life. And guess what? So am I. I'm still figuring it out. Yeah, I have my PhD and I have my education, and I've been a respiratory therapist for over 32 years, and I'm still figuring it out. You know, if you're comfortable, you're not growing. And if you're growing, you're not comfortable. Growth and comfort can't coexist at the same time. So I'm constantly growing and stimulating and challenging myself. So yeah, I'm still figuring it out too. I just been here a little bit longer. So anyway, that brings me to why I'm here, why I'm showing up. I through Kason was Chris's idea. Chris Senior asked Chris, what is it that you wish you learned or you had in school that you didn't have that could help kids today? And Chris came back to him and said, I wish someone would have taught me how to be appropriate on social media. I wish someone would have taught me about bullying online, like they talked about it in person. And he said some other things, but then he came to me and asked me for my help with this and if I could help him build a social media app that would help kids keep kids safe. And that's how this really started. It was his idea from his lived experience, and from my witnessing and navigating life with him that brought me here. And God has really turned our pain into purpose and our pain into passion. And that is to help keep kids safe. That is to protect their mental health and well-being. That is to keep them from joining these malicious groups that recruit kids that may be lonely and don't have friends, or may be neurodivergent and not socially accepted. We say, and my husband said it first, bad always accepts you. And so if you want to be a part of a community that is in the bad things, they're always going to embrace people and welcome them. And we don't want these kids to fall victims of prey because they want bad attention over no attention, or because they don't think they're worthy, or they don't have low self-esteem. They got to take and accept just any old thing. No, 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 baby. You are worth more than that. You are valuable. And we want to build you up so you know your self-worth. We want to build you up so you know that when someone is making fun of you, or they don't mean you any good, or they're setting you up for failure, or they're setting you up to be clowned or bullied or whatever. No, baby, you worth more than that. And through my professional experience and my experience as a mother, have who have navigated these spaces, and through Chris's experience as a person who has navigated these experiences, together we are the dynamic duo. Together we are the reason why you need us, because we've been here and we know what it's like to navigate these waters. We know what it's like to go through that. And Chris is at a place now at the age of 27, almost 28. He's at the place now where he can reflect. He reflects back to what it was like, and he can separate that from where he is now. But he has that lived experience that helps parents understand and connect and bridge the gap between them and their child, because he knows what it's like to go through that as a child, but yet and still he's an adult who cares and wants to help, and he can give his adult perspective on that space. So when you put all that together, you really do have the dynamic duo, because that's what we are. We are the dynamic duo. We are all encumbersome. We have the different perspectives. We have the compassion, the empathy, and the experience to help you get through this situation, to help you make it through your journey. And then I coupled that with authoring two books: Help, Support for Parents of Children with Learning and Thinking Differences to Feel Confident, Capable, and Fulfilled, which is based off of 25 years of my experience navigating the life with Chris through the special education system. And then I have the Parent and Caregiver's Guide: Overcoming the Odds of Disabilities, Medical Challenges, Mental Health Disorders, and Trauma. And that book, I have 12 co-authors with me. Six are parents telling their story, and six are professionals answering the same exact questions as the parents, but they are answering it from a professional perspective, giving tools and resources for the reader, for the parents and caregivers reading it. So when you put that together, those tools with my experience, it makes me qualified to be in the room. It makes me qualified to be here with you, navigating this journey with you and supporting you. So I developed MOAC, Mothers of Exceptional Kids. Through CASIN, I developed Mothers of Exceptional Kids support group to help parents and caregivers on their journey. We meet every first Tuesday of the month, from from 8 to 9 p.m. And we meet via Zoom. It's 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We meet through Zoom. And what makes this a really nice community? I never know who's showing up each month. Sometimes we have men, we welcome everybody's called mothers, but everybody's welcome. Sometimes we have men on there, and most of the times it's mothers. Sometimes we have professionals come on and speak from their vein of influence and experience and expertise. So what it looks like is we get there, we share. I'll tell my story. People tell as much or as little as they want about their story or what they're going through. And then we talk about everybody has the opportunity to say what they're dealing with, what they're navigating a problem or issue or situation or just a story. It doesn't always have to be negative. It could just be something they want to get off of their chest. And then we go around, and if you feel like you have something to say to add value, then you speak up. It's not just about me, it's just about a space where everybody is made to feel welcome. You don't feel guilty. You're not made to feel like you have to explain yourself or you have to justify yourself. Um, but you are truly supported. You are truly championed and celebrated in this space for being who you are. So I love that. And then I have a conference and retreat coming up on the weekend of October the 24th through the 26th. We have the Thriving Together, a MOAC family conference and retreat. It is going to be held at the Great Wolf Lodge in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. If you want more connection, more support, and a safe place to bring your family, then you want to come for the whole retreat experience. Friday night, we will have a pizza party, meet and greet, fun and games, bonding time, and just a place to build community. And then Saturday, we will have an conference where if you don't want to come for the full retreat experience, you can come on Saturday for the information and the session and get, depending on what level you come in at, as an essential member, you get one package. The details are on the flyer. As uh, the experience, with the next tier, you get everything you get in the essential plus more. You get a full lunch as opposed to just snacks. You get this swag bag with stuff to take home and materials. Both of them, you get the Empowered Mom Toolkit, which includes the affirmations, daily affirmations. It includes a self-check-in journal, the mom circle guide, the blueprint. It's so much in here to add value to support you on your journey. And that's $150 value by itself, and that's free for anyone that comes. For the for tier one, the essential package, it's $97. For tier two with the box lunch, the swag bag, and a group reflection call, debriefing, all of that's included. That's the 197 for that ticket. If you want the whole experience with include the VIP, that includes the whole weekend. Your child gets the Wolf Pass, which includes the Magic Wand, where you go through. It includes miniature golf. It includes bowling. It includes Build-A-Bear. Oh man, it's so much for a fun bonding experience. So not only do you get the tools that will last you well beyond the weekend, but you hopefully get to make some connections in person. So when you see each other on Zoom, you already have this experience and the bonding. So stay tuned. Know that my heart is truly there. Chris's heart is truly there to support you on your journey. That we want this to be an inclusive event. We want this to not only be education for the adults, but that the kids can have fun. It's an indoor water park. Summer's over, but you can still have that experience. And I look forward to connecting. I welcome you. Come on. Come on. I know you want to come. Come on. Do it. Pull the trigger. Know that, yes, this is for you. Know that this is for real. Come on, join me. You got this. Come on. Come on. And let's do this together. You don't have to do life alone. No parent should feel like they have to do life in isolation. And even if you have a neurotypical child, you want to come just for fun to gain some experience or just to hang out, come on, you can come too. If you are a professional and not a parent, but you want to come and join, come on, join. The more the merrier. If you have something to offer and you want to be a part of this event and you want to share your tools and experience, contact me. I don't pretend to have it all, but I am creating a space to hopefully give it all. And I can't do that by myself. I need other people too. So that's it for tonight. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Dr. Myava Clark, and I support parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children to find emotional support and practical tools without burnout while they guide their children towards meaningful friendships. I look forward to seeing you at some of my events, and I look forward to seeing you, yes, you, YOU, and your child, and your spouse, and your family at the Thriving Together MOAC Family Conference and Retreat on October the 25th is the conference, and the whole retreat experience is from October the 24th through October the 26th. I will see you there. If this is for you, put me in the chat and inbox me for the details. Thank you. Bye.